Hello students, I'm Himani Sharma, your UGC NET Paper 1 educator. In this new video, right, the last lab program, the 30-day program that we have for you, we will be moving forward with certain concepts which are related to the 3 units of which I have made the videos, right? So I've talked about research aptitude, I've talked about ICT, we have done research and higher education as well, right? So the 3 units which are prominent or which I have made the videos of, as I told you. So in this video, this is the second last video, right? So what are we going to do? We are going to talk about the PYQs which are related to concepts. And the concepts of what? The concepts of the 3 units such as research aptitude, correct? Research aptitude, higher education, and ICT, that is information and communication technology, right? So if you would have watched the previous videos, you would have known that how we approach this program. We use the PYQs as the basic concept, right? We see that what are the questions which have been repeated multiple times, and through those concepts, through those questions, we try to focus the thing that is on the last minute revision part, right? So I hope you all will like this video because of course the exam is near, right? So you all need to focus entirely what I have brought forth for you. We will be talking about certain important concepts, right, related to National Education Policy 2020, from which at least 1 or 2 questions are asked every year, right? So the first question that I have for you in today's video is statement 1 based, statement and statement 2. Statement 1 says, exploration is particularly useful when researchers lack a clear idea of the problems they will meet during the study. Alright, the second statement says, through exploration, researchers developed concepts more clearly, established priorities, develop operational definitions, and improve the final research design. So as always, you guys can pause your videos to know, right, what do you think is the answer, right? So the options that I have for this answer are these ones, right? So try to look at the question first by pausing the screens and then moving forward with the options which are there, correct? The answer to this question is option A, which says that yes, both statement 1 and statement 2 are true. Why do we say that? First of all, let me just tell you that yes, the content that I have brought for you in the answer part, we are supposed to read it a little bit so that an understanding is built. So I am trying to read from the slides and trying to explain it in my own language, right? So this is for your explanation part if you want to make notes, etc. Coming back to statement 1, it said that exploration is particularly useful when researchers lack a clear idea of the problems they will meet during the study. So when a researcher is doing a study, right, before the study even, if one wants to explore certain things, of course, you will through exploration know that yes, this is what I have interest in, right? Exploratory research is often conducted because a problem has not yet been clearly defined. So if you talk about exploratory research or exploration in its own time, we can see that exploration is done because something has not been, identified. Something has not been yet discovered, searched, or whatever, whatever you want to call it, right? So because of that very thing, we do research and we have a different subtype for that as well. That is known as exploratory research, right? Or its real scope is yet unclear. Maybe exploration has been done on a particular topic, but how far that can research go, right? That has not yet been clearly defined. Allows the researcher to familiarize himself or herself with the problem or concept to be studied and perhaps generate hypotheses to be tested. So first of all, this is the basic thing of a hypothesis, right? What do? We think of a problem, we formulate a problem, then we think of the hypothesis, we formulate the hypothesis. This is how we go in the step-by-step thing, right? That we have done in the steps of research part, correct? So it will familiarize the person who is doing the research to think that yes, this is where I need to generate the hypothesis from because the search has not been done in this very thing. Initial research before more conclusive research is undertaken. So, initial research, that is in the beginning stage. This very exploratory research, of course, will talk about something which has not yet been talked about. And that means that it marks the beginning of something. It helps determine the best research design data collection method and selection of subjects for sometimes it concludes that the problem does not exist. Even if you start with an exploration that yes, aliens do exist, you formulate a hypothesis, right? We will be talking about hypotheses as well. So stay tuned for the video. So if you talk about that, yes, this is the one thing, if we talk about the hypothesis that aliens don't exist, but you find that they do or they do not, right? So that is one thing that you have explored which yet has not been explored, or maybe answers have not been given to that very problem. Statement 2 says, through exploration, researchers developed concepts more clearly. Yes, of course, because of the fact that exploration is done and they think that yes, if this research is, valid enough to be conducted. Establish priorities, right? What do I need to do first? Develop operational definitions and improve the final research design. So, of course, all these things are done when the researchers are trying to explore something through the exploratory research, right? It can be quite informal, which means relying on secondary search such as reviewing available literature. So, basically, exploration cannot just be that you are going somewhere practically and doing things, but you can also rather read certain books, read certain kind of literature to see if yes, that thing makes sense to you, right? If that thing is worth exploring, and even if that includes the secondary sources, that will be considered as a research. It can also be based on qualitative approaches, right? Such as informal discussions. You are having an informal discussion with someone, right on a road, etc., to explore certain things. Employees management or competitors through in-depth interviews. Hence, it is called qualitative. So, qualitative research, of course, always and always will be something which is done in an in-depth analysis. Correct? So, anything which is done deeply, you are studying it deeply, that can also be thought of as a research which is qualitative in nature, and yet because of the exploration fact, that is exploratory. Right? So this is what we have. The results of exploratory research are not usually useful for decision making by themselves, but they can provide significant insight into a given situation. As I gave you the example of aliens, we can see that yes, aliens, maybe they are an imaginary concept, right? They do not exist really. So you explored and then you found out that yes, they do not exist there. Correct? In other words, the results can neither be generalized. So yes, this is an important thing in exploratory research. Results, whatever results that you are talking about, right? If you are talking about a particular thing, that thing cannot be generalized. If one student is lacking in a particular subject, it does not mean that all the students will be lacking. Correct? So generalization should not be done here. They are not representative of the whole population being studied. Hence, the statement 2 is also correct, but yes, there are certain things which you all might need to jot down or might need to revise. Through this video, you will do that. The next question that I have for you is, in order to transform the regulatory system of higher education, the NEP, that is the National Education Policy 2020, proposes to set up a Higher Education Commission of India, that is HECI. Which of the following are the verticals of this? So pause your screens, try to think. Right? These are the verticals you are supposed to choose, and these are the options. What amongst these 5 of them are the verticals of HECI? Pause your screen, students. The answer to this question is option C, which says A, C and E only. Let's just see. In A, we have NHERC, HEGC and E. These are the 3 options which are the verticals of Higher Education Commission of India, right? Under what? Under the NEP, that is National Education Policy. The higher education would have multiple verticals to full various roles. The first vertical, so this, as I told you, I have brought an entire concept which has been, talked about multiple times or asked about multiple times in the question paper, that is the National Education Policy. We cannot miss that entirely, right? So we will be doing the National Education Policy even that for that matter. But first of all, what is asked in the question was the HECI and its verticals. So the first vertical will be the National Higher Education Regulatory Council. So my dear students, as I always put focus and emphasis on this very thing, that you all are supposed to note down the abbreviations which are related to particular unit. So this is related to higher education. wherever you have made your notes on higher education, what you can possibly do is write this thing down, because even from the name it will suggest National Higher Education Regulatory Council, which will function as the common single point regulator. It will be the authority to regulate certain things, the higher education sector, including teacher education and excluding medical and legal education. So this is an important thing, that NHERC, what things it lacks or excludes. It excludes the medical and legal education, and apart from that, any other kind of higher education which comes under this very thing will be, the regulatory body will be NHERC. So this is the first vertical of Higher Education Commission of India. Second vertical is the NAC grading, correct? So National Accreditation Council, which is used for the accreditation or ranking, right? Meta accrediting body called NAC. Accreditation of institutions will be based primarily on basic norms which are required, right? Public self-disclosure, good governance and outcomes, and it will be carried out by an independent ecosystem of accrediting supervised and overseen by NAC. So basically what will happen under the NAC grading or NAC or NAAC, right? Under the NAC grading, what can be done or what will be done? Let's just read it here. As I told you that it is an accrediting body, right? So it will give accreditation or ranking based on the institution's governance, based on institution entirely, right? How is it working? How is the infrastructure there? Correct? The third vertical will be the Higher Education Grants Council, which will carry out funding and financing of colleges. And even the name suggests Higher Education Grants Council. So grants are the funds which are related. So if you are talking about higher education, anything, the funds which are related to higher education will be carried out. The financing will be done by a Higher Education Grants Council. Fourth vertical, which has not been talked about, is the one which has been missed. So there are 4 verticals of HECI. 3 have been asked in the question. The fourth one, which is an additional one, that is General Education Council, right? Which will frame expected learning outcomes for higher education programs, also referred to as graduate attributes, correct? So anything related to general education, higher education part, and the learning expected learning outcomes, that yes, if a person does BA English Honours, by the end of the program, what will he be knowing? He or she be knowing, right? So will they be aware of Shakespeare? Will they be aware of Milton? Will they be aware of Ben Jonson, Christopher Marlowe, etc., right? So all these things which are related to a particular set, right, in the general education part will be talked about in what? In the General Education Council. Now comes the time when I would like you all to bring out your notebooks, because this is something which we cannot miss. Talking about the National Education Policy 2020. So some more important changes which have been there are, first of all, MHRD or HRD, Ministry of Higher Education, has now been renamed as Ministry of Education. A very, very important thing, right? So they might ask you certain things, that under what thing, right, the name of MHRD has been changed, under what policy the name has been changed to Ministry of Education, or MOE, that is the Ministry of Education. GDP investment in education increased from 1.6% to 6%. Very important point. So try to make down notes, right? So GDP investment, education sector, 1.6 to 6%, right? I have tried to make it more easier and brief for you all. Focusing on the gross enrollment ratio, right? Anything which is related to primary and secondary education, it will be increased to 50% by 2035, right? So 50% gross enrollment ratio in higher education will be increased by 2035, right? But NEP 2020 aims to increase the gross enrollment ratio to 100% in preschool to secondary level by 2030, whereas in higher education, including vocational education, from 26.3% to 50% by 2035. So you see the differentiation here. First of all, you can write it down like this, that yes, gross enrollment ratio, right, preschool and secondary school will be 100%, right? By what? 100% by 2030. And if we talk about the higher education part, right, that is 50% by the year 2035. So you guys can get confused in this very thing, right? So jot this thing down, because higher education is different from preschool and secondary education. So secondary education, different gross enrollment has been talked about, ratio has been talked about, also including the year that has been talked about is 2030 in preschool and secondary school. In higher education, it is 2035 and by 50%. Correct? Changes in school education. Now, what are the changes? Students to learn flow coding from class 6th, right? So, taking this up from China, the students are supposed to learn coding from China. Mother tongue, that is not coding from China. So, this is the concept that they have taken from China, that yes, from class 6, coding should be taught to students. Correct? Mother tongue to be a medium of instruction till 5th grade. So, till 5th standard, mother tongue should be the one which has been taught, right? And the students should be taught in mother tongue till 5th grade, adopting the local language Europe advantage. Which means that from Europe, they have taken up this very thing that yes, mother tongue should be the prominent language till the class 5th, right? Till class 5th. Report card will be comprehensive based on skills and capabilities. A 360-degree progress card, academic, practical and co-curriculum. So basically, in the previous times, what used to happen was that yes, students used to, get their report cards and only the quantitative, or you can say quantitative, or we can say the numerical things used to be there. There was no mention that how the student is performing in the co-curricular activities, the overall development, right? So this very type, that NEP 2020 focuses on the quality education. So it will talk about that, yes, education, if we are talking about education, the physical mental development also takes place, right? Hence, the report card should not only just be the comprehensive on the basis of the numerical part, right? That is how much a student has scored in a test and in an exam, right? It should also be talking about the skills that a particular student has, right? Changes in higher education. Single regulator for higher education, excluding medical and legal, we have talked about, right? MPhil to be discontinued, a very important change, right? Flexibility of subjects, that there is no hard and fast rule for a person to choose from a humanities stream, a subject from humanities stream and subject from science stream. So flexibility is there, right? Public investment in education to reach 6% of GDP at the earliest, from 1.6% to 6%. Changes for teachers. What are the changes for teachers? NCRT, right, should be established, right? It is established, but a curriculum framework for teachers should be there. That is National Curriculum Framework for Teacher Education, that has been introduced in the year 2021, right? There has been also an institution or a framework which has been introduced for the foundational stage of students, right? So NCF for foundational stage has also been released, right, in the year 2020. By 2030, minimum degree qualification for teachers should be 4-year integrated B.Ed educational program that they have, right, which is a compulsory thing for teachers who want to teach in schools, right? So NCRT and teachers curriculum should be there, right? And by 2030, B.Ed should be integrated, and that thing should be considered, right, the minimum degree qualification for a teacher to teach in a classroom or a school. Coming to the National Education 2020, first of all, 29th July, it was there, right? And if we talk about the previous national education policies, even before 1986, in 1968, the first national policy on education came, correct? So it was not that good, so certain changes were made, and then in 1986, the other one came. So chronology you can write, 1968, 1986, right? And in 1992, even it was modified by introducing the Right to Education Act, correct? National education, national policy on education was there in 1986, and now after so many years in 2020, national education policy was released with certain changes which one would have never thought of, right? So quality education, as I told you, was the motto here. But if we talk about the quality education here, and if we talk about the 1986 policy, national policy on education, it talks about the access and equity, correct? That everybody should be there. So what are they going to do? NEP is going to design a vision and framework for school education and higher education, both of them. So it proposes to change the school's academic structure from 10 plus 2 to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 format. Question has been asked from this very thing. From 10 plus 2, what has been the structure now? It is 5, 3, 3, 4. Correct? How is that? Let's just see. First of all, the previous academic structure was this, 10 plus 2. The foundational stage was not even counted, right? But if we talk at 10 plus 2, here I am talking about class 1 to 10, and then this is class 11th and 12th, right? 1 to 10th. It is nothing which is related to mathematics, right? But it is just about talking about the courses that we have in the secondary or preschool education part. Here in the new structure, they have given the 5, 3, 3, 4 thing. Now how have they done that? In this very thing, the 3-year ages, I mean, let me just write it down for you, or let's just increase the size. Right? So let's just see here that I hope it's visible now, right? So 4, right? 5, 3, 3, 4. This is what they have done now in the new pedagogical structure, right? So this very thing which has been nearly ignored, everybody ignored it, right? So they have introduced it. The Anganwadi thing, the preschool, the Bal Vatika, all these things have been included as the foundational stage, right? Even classes 1 and 2. So the foundational stage comprises of Anganwadi, preschooling, right, etc., kindergarten, etc., and classes 1 and 2. Hence, it is talking about 3 years of Anganwadi and preschooling plus 2 years of, yes, the foundational education in classes 1 and 2. If we talk about this 3, that is class 3 to 5. That is the preparatory stage. Then we talk about the middle stage, which talks about class 6 to 8. And then we have the secondary, which talks about class 9 to 12. Correct? So 5, right? 3 plus 2 years, 5. 3 years, right? 3 years and 4 years. So I hope this concept from 10 plus 2, moving from this old thing of 10 plus 2, right? 10 plus 2, we have moved now to what? The structure of 5, 3, 3, 4. Correct? Then we have multiple entry and exit options. So even if you have to leave a course midway because of certain reasons, the course that you have done, right? If you have done 1 semester, etc., the credits will be stored in the academic bank of credits, right? So you can start that very program from where you have left. So if you have left in bachelor's, right, in BA General, let's just talk about, you have done BA General and you have just done 1 semester, right? So the credits of all the subjects of the first semesters will be stored in the academic bank of credit. And when you want to resume your education again, you will not have to do this first semester again. So the credits will be already used that way. Correct? Hence, multiple entry and exit options, right? This is a proper degree if we talk about advanced diploma, etc. Right? 3 years undergraduate degree and 4 years undergraduate degree. Correct? So 1 credit here, we need not go to that detail, but yes, for the educational purpose, you can jot it down. 1 credit is 1 hour of teaching, right? So if you are sitting in a lecture for 1 hour, that 1 credit will be credited to you. 2 hours of practical or field work, right? Academic bank of credit will digitally store the credits earned from various higher educational courses on the institution. So as I told you by giving the example of bachelor's, right? General BA, right? So you will be able to start the education from where you left. 1 year master's degree for the people who have 4-year undergraduate course and the people who have only 3-year undergraduate course, right? For example, BA is of 3 years, but BTech is of 4 years. So for the people who have their 4 years undergraduate, they will be doing their masters in 1 year, and the people who have 3 years of their bachelors will be doing their bachelors and will be doing their masters in 2 years only, right? So basically, in the 2 years of the masters, research will be the focus. So basically, here in the 4-year program, here will also be the research should be focused upon, because of the fact that yes, research has been talked about and research is a developing field in itself, right? So 3+2 structure for the people who have 3-year undergraduate program. Not for everyone it's master's 1 degree. It's not like that, right? It's just for the people who have their 4 years, who have invested their 4 years in the undergraduate program. Then we have no hard and fast foundations between arts and hard sciences. So arts may we have subjects like history, geography, psychology, English, etc. And in hard science we have physics, chemistry, biology, geology, astronomy, etc. So all these things can be, a student can learn these very things, right, from different patterns, and they can measure, right? They will be measuring these very things, the liberal arts, the social sciences, the creative arts, etc. So a student from a educational background and education background of humanities can choose a subject which is related to science. So the division, right? The division is erased here, right? So holistic undergraduate program which are flexible with their curriculum, their syllabus, etc. Vocational subjects, subjects related to your vocation, subjects related to person's job, etc. Those will be there. Interdisciplinary combination of subjects. As I told you that a person who is from an arts stream can choose any subject from the science stream as well. Also, language, Sanskrit, other classical languages and literatures, they are also planning under the NEP 2020. They have planned that yes, schools for particular languages which are related to the Indian heritage have been, should be developed, right? Should be established. Then we have MERUs as well. What are MERUs? MERUs, first of all, write the full form: Multidisciplinary Education and Research University. So you see the word here, multidisciplinary, which tells you, gives you the answer, right? So just to imbibe the research culture in students that yes, research is a field which is developing in itself, and people should inculcate the habit of research. If even you want to write certain research papers, or if you want to pursue your PhD, etc., to inculcate that habit of bringing something new to the table, right? MERUs will be established, right? So interdisciplinary research, MERUs will be created, and these MERUs will be for IITs and IIMs. Research related to IITs and IIMs, and this will be done interdisciplinarily, right? So basically multidisciplinary education and research university. So research will also be there, research in the sector of multidisciplinary, right? Then we have this overall overview here, right? Universalization of education from pre to secondary. Time and again I'm asking you to write this thing down. From pre to secondary is 100% gross enrollment ratio by 2030. Correct? In higher education, it's 50% by 2035. Correct? No rigid separation between academic streams, extracurricular vocational streams in schools, right? So you can choose whatever you want to under the NEP 2020, right? Vocational education from class 6 with internships, right? Even as I told you, the coding thing, right? Which they have talked about, which they have taken from China, right? 5+3+3+4 school structure, right? Including the 3 years of Anganwadi and preschooling. So they say that yes, even the foundational stage holds certain kind of value there. Teaching up to at least 5th grade to be in mother tongue or regional language. This is just the revision. Then we have higher education curriculum to have flexibility of subjects, multiple entry exit options, academic bank of credits where your credits will be stored. You can start your course from where you have left by the multiple entry exit options, right? Use of technology with equity. Equity here means what? Equity means fairness. That every person should be getting the education the same way. National Research Foundation, NRF, to be established to foster research culture. Gender Inclusion Fund. Special education zones for disadvantaged regions and groups, right? So any people, minorities, etc., which have been, not given that much importance from the previous times should be the ones which should be getting education and, the special attention for this very thing. The Gender Inclusion Fund, that women should also be included, right? And special education zones for people who are unable to get, access to education anywhere. National Institution for Pali, Persian, Prakrit, which is Indian Institute of Translation and Interpretation to be set up. So I was telling you, right, that they are trying to bring forth, right, the heritage, the rich heritage that we have forgotten since ages, right? They want to talk about Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, Persian, etc. And they, for that very matter, they want to set up what? Indian Institute of Translation and Interpretation. Right? So this was also a question which has been asked in the NET examination. So you should note these things down. Right? Even you can pause your screens, take your time and make notes from these two slides only if you do not want to make notes from that. The next question is, the post office protocol is what? The answer to this question is option C. Used when receiving emails from the email server. Primary protocol behind email communication. So whenever you are sending someone email and then you are receiving an email, this is a receiving email, front, which is there for the email communication part. Type of computer networking and internet standard protocol that extracts and retrieves emails from a remote mail server for access by the host machine. So basically, if I am receiving a mail on my very machine, the host machine, that is my laptop, my computer, my desktop, etc., my phone even for that very matter, right? This will be the protocol that will retrieve the data and will tell me that yes, an email has come. It works through supporting email software client that integrates POP, that is Post Office Protocol, for connecting to the remote email server and downloading email messages of the recipient's computer machine. So if anyone has sent me a particular attachment related to, let's just say higher education notes. If someone has sent me higher education notes on my mail, right, that extraction will be done from the site or from the mail of the host computer from where the sender has sent me, right? And I am going to receive it, and this is basically any email, right, which is related to this is a protocol which is related to the receiving email front. Correct? Then we have some of the type of hypotheses are as follows. So you can pause your screens here. The answer to this question is option D, that is A, B and E. A, B and E, right? So these are the three types of hypotheses which we have. Apart from that, confounding and intervening are the types of variables. Let's just see. Descriptive. How a research is intellectual and committed to a particular outcome. Because of the name descriptive, it is going to describe that yes, to this research, how am I going to respond, how am I going to proceed. That is what is there if we talk about any kind of hypothesis, which is if the type we are talking about here is the descriptive one. The relationship between the variables can also be its nature, can predict its nature. So any relationship, even if it's a negative relationship, even if it's a positive relationship, you are supposed to talk about it. Correct? Null hypothesis provides a statement that is contrary to the hypothesis. So there are two types of major hypotheses that we have, right? Number one is null, the other is alternative. I'll be talking about these two hypotheses in detail as well, but just telling you that null hypothesis is something which we want to disprove. Correct? And alternative hypothesis is there, which is the opposite of null hypothesis, on which the researcher believes. Correct? So the researcher actually believes in this very alternative hypothesis and he wants to disprove this one to make sure that yes, the alternative hypothesis which I have given, it is correct, right? Null hypothesis, now coming back here again, contrary to the hypothesis, it is a negative statement. For example, I can say that there is no difference between me and Richa. Correct? So I've talked about no. So there is a negative statement which has been talked about here. Correct? Explanatory or causal. Causal hypothesis proposes a cause and effect relationship or interaction between two or more variables. For instance, if the hypothesis, if we are talking about that if there is a cause and effect, that if you are watching this video, you might be able to score good marks in the, UGC NET examination, right? The cause and the effect, that yes, if you watched this video, you saw that yes, there were certain concepts which have been asked in the NET examination. So the effect was the outcome, correct? So this is the one thing which is there to explore the differentiation. Hence, these are the three types of hypothesis, right? Then we have the next question. Which of the following features best describe an independent variable in research? So pause your screens here again. The answer to this question is, you can watch these, videos and pause the options where you see the option. The answer to this question is option C, that says option A and C only, right? So what do we have in A? Independent variable is the cause and the cause-effect relationship. And then we have C, that is, it is the condition or characteristic which is manipulated in experimental study. Of course, if you would have watched my previous videos where I have talked about research, right? The research aptitude videos which were in the beginning of the last lab program, you would have seen that yes, we have talked about variables. Totally. We have talked about intervening, we have talked about confounding variables, right? Mediator variables. Independent and dependent variables are the two types which are majorly there. The independent variables are the ones which are manipulated. Now, my students, do not get worried when you see such heavy words being used that yes, what is manipulation? I don't know manipulation in research. Manipulation here means that it can be changed. The amount can be increased, decreased. For example, if you drink Complan to see if the height increases, right? So first day you start drinking only 1 tablespoon, right? You see that yes, for 30 days I have drank, this very Complan thing, right? But there was no differentiation. But then I saw that one should drink at least 2 tablespoons by mixing 2 tablespoons in the milk. And then you see a significant change in your height. So the manipulation, the Complan here, the quantity of Complan, the tablespoons of Complan that you are putting in the milk is the independent variable, right? But the effect is seen on what? Your height. So your height is the dependent variable because it is depending on the Complan, right? And the quality and quantity, that how much your height will get increased, correct? The other name for independent variable is predictor because it is predicting, right? They are called such because independent variables predict or forecast the values of the dependent variable in the model. Of course, if you will eat certain things in a lesser amount, you will feel that yes, you are still hungry, correct? So the effect is being observed on the dependent variable. The independent variable is the cause. Its value is independent of other variables in your study. For example, how long you sleep affects your test score is the dependent variable. That yes, if you see that if you have slept, right, slept for so many hours, let's just see for only 5 hours, less amount of sleep you have taken, but then you see that even because of the fact that you have not slept rightly in the previous night, right, you scored less in your, test. Why was that now? Right? Because of the fact that you were stressing and you were not able to sleep properly. So that thing, your sleep, the lack in your sleep is the one which has affected your test scores. Correct? So, of course, memorize this very thing when you talk about that independent. This has been a question which has been asked in the UGC NET exam. Which is the variable which is always and always manipulated? It is the independent. manipulated always, right? But on the other hand, if we talk about the dependent variable is the one which depends, right? So it is the effect or outcome of the independent variable. So here IV I have written, it means independent variable. It is what? The independent variable is the cause, dependent variable is the effect, basically. Correct? So you can jot this thing down. Next question is statement 1. SWAYAM, an initiative of the Government of India, aims at providing affordable and quality education to the citizens. Statement 2 says it aims at promoting the education and health of adolescent girls. So pause your screens to see what is the answer. What do you think is the answer? The answer to this question is option C, which says statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. Because of the fact that SWAYAM, yes, talks about the quality education, right? SWAYAM, first of all, study webs of active learning for young aspiring minds for the access, equity and quality of education. So yes, it is a platform, it is a portal from where you are going to get education which is qualitative in nature, which is good in nature, correct? So you're not getting anything which is less qualitative, correct? Its objective is to bring the best teaching and learning methods and learning experience along with the resources to all. So through SWAYAM, you can get resources, even if it is related to ebooks, etc., right? There are multiple things you can get from this very platform. And those things are for all, right? So the quality of education is coming along with what? The equity, that every person can have access to that very thing. Use of an indigenous developed IT platform. So it is indigenous, means it is made in India. Correct? Facilitates hosting courses from the elite education institutions in the country by anyone and at any time. So from IITs, IIMs, NCRTs, UGC, etc. From all these things, all the institutions, even if you talk about Delhi University, IGNOU, etc. These institutions provide SWAYAM with the content and the courses for free. The courses are available free of cost, as I told you. Its portal has been developed by the Ministry of Human Resource, which is now known as MOE, Ministry of Education after the National Education Policy, right? With NEPTIL, IIT Madras, with inputs from Google Inclusive and Persistent Systems Limited. So this thing can be asked in the question paper. You can ask. You can write it down. Next is the courses are from class 9th to post-graduation, that is till masters. The courses are available from 9th class. It has MOOCs, massive open online courses, and provides high educational content on various subjects, as we talked about, from class 9th to post-graduation. The scheme aims to provide free high-quality e-content to all colleges and universities free of cost, and even if a student is not enrolled in any college or university, they can get the access to this very platform or web portal for the access in education. Learners wishing a SWAYAM certificate have to register for the final proctored exams that come at a fee and attend in person at designated centers on specified dates. So even if you're getting enrolled in a SWAYAM course and you want that, yes, I want to have this very certificate of a particular course, then you are supposed to give the exam. Otherwise, if you just want to access it, it is available free of cost for everyone. An assessment of the student at the end of the course through an exam and marks obtained with the same is the feature of SWAYAM. So basically, after you have given the exam, right, if you want the certificate, you have given the exam, the assessment will be there by the end of the course. UGC has passed the UGC Regulation 2060 advising the universities in the country to identify courses which obviously are important from every point of view, that this is a course which should be there on the SWAYAM platform, right? So these are the certain things which you should be knowing. Hence, statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is false because it does not talk about anything which is related to the girls' education or girls' health in its entirety, correct? Next question is, which of the following qualitative, mind you, qualitative research designs individual stories to describe the lives of people are explored? So pause your screens. The answer to this question is Option D, that is in the narrative research, because narration is done, right? A person is narrating certain things, that is done in the qualitative part. So if you would have seen the videos, the previous videos, if I completely try to mention it time and again, just because of the fact that you should revisit them, really sorry, you should revisit them to see that what you have left behind, the important concepts, because we have been talking about here. So coming back here to the narrative research is an approach to review the literature. Tends to be less focused than a systematic review and seeks to arrive at a critical interpretation of the literature that it covers. So you are reading, right? You are reading certain literature and you are trying to set forth a narration, right? Is a type of qualitative research, which means it is an in-depth, deep analysis will be there, correct? Because critical interpretation has also been talked about here, in which individual stories to describe the lives of people are explored. So you can read certain literature, to read certain, narratives to see how the people were there in the Elizabethan times, right? Are they the ones which have been talked about in the Shakespearean plays, or are these the one which have not been talked about in the Shakespearean plays, but yes, in certain documents they are there. If you talk about the English literature part, right, we have for that a theory which we know as new historicism, right? So if any one of you, if you are watching the video, you would have seen the new historicism. The new historicists, right, they see that yes, the important text, even if you talk about a particular writer, they are important, but you should also read certain anecdotes or short stories or the narratives of people who were not really important. So from a daily life things are also important, as well as the important text of a particular author, right? So individual stories are explored, can be viewed as a social product, as a form of social interaction, as well as an interpretive device. Hence, if we talk about the question that individual stories to describe the lives of people, they are done in the narrative research, because you are reading certain narrations, right? You are reading and reviewing the literature, and then you are critically analyzing it, interpreting it. It is a social product, as we talked about, to tell stories about the narratives which have been set forth. It is an in-depth analysis of a chronologically told story, right? So if you would have heard about the Ramayana, right, how it began. If you talk about the Mahabharata, how it began, right? So a chronological narration has been set forth and you are going to deal with that, right? You are going to critically analyze that. Its analysis focuses on the ways in which people make an use of stories to interpret the world. Some people say that yes, Mahabharata is not real. Some say that yes, it was real. But it was first of all done through the, oral interpretation, oral, what we can say, transmission. Correct? So oral transmission was there of stories, the narratives, etc., and then it was penned down. So we never know that if it was real or if it was not real, right? But yes, if we see certain narratives, how are we going to see it? Through this very lens, through the narrative research lens. It's best used for exploration of ethical, moral and cultural ambiguities. Ambiguities are something which have more than two meanings, right? So anything which is related to cultural ambiguities, you do not know, right? As I gave you the example of Mahabharata, some say yes, it had happened, some say it had not happened, right? So in narrative research, individual stories to describe the lives of people are explored, that we talked about in the umbrella term if we look in the narrative research part in detail. Next question is, in the post-positivistic approach to research, which are the following types research got emphasized? Pause your screens here. The answer to this question is option C, that is B, C and E. B, phenomenological, right? C, ethnographic, phenomenological, ethnographic and action research use what? The post-positive research paradigm. Now, my dear students, these questions have been asked multiple times from positivism and post-positivism, and students think that these terms are really heavy. I would never ever understand that what is positivism and post-positivism. So here we go. First of all, positivism just talks about science. On the other hand, post-positivism talks about science plus logic, or what you can say, common sense. The positivists, what they used to believe was that they said that yes, there is this one thing, there is this universal thing, universal truth which is there. Post-positivists, on the other hand, said that no, a human can never know everything. The world is not knowable to us, is what the post-positivists thought, right? So they are not, the post-positivists are not against the positivists, but it is just a, we can say, a critical analysis of positivism, and it's, we can say the extension, right? Or expansion, however you want to say, right? It is the extension of the positivist paradigm. So positivists said, I will believe you if you prove anything to me just and just with science. Post-positivists say, but yes, science is important, but give me some common sense as well, right? So let's just see the basic differentiation between the two of them. Positivist approach is deductive in nature, which means that it moves from general to particular, right? So there is a general theory of the gravity of motion from Sir Isaac Newton, right? The gravity, the apple fallen, right? The fallen apple story, right? So there is this theory which is gravity, theory of gravity. So there is this general theory, and then if I'm applying the general theory by throwing this pen down and seeing that yes, gravitational pull is there, right? And I'm proving it on a general, from a general theory to a particular thing, right? With Sir Isaac Newton, it happened with an apple. From that thing, he observed the phenomena, and then he reached out to this very theory, right? If I want to test, so basically positivism is a theory which is used to test certain things. Here, in the other hand, if we talk about the post-positivist theory, it tries to develop certain things. So from particular to general, hence it is inductive in nature, because we are moving from one thing to the general sphere. So if I see that there are two ducks who come in front of my front yard every summer, right, every day in the summers, right, then I observe the pattern that yes, in every summer they come. I saw them in one day, from a particular day I saw them, and then I saw that they come every day, but especially in the summer times in the pool in my front yard. From particular to I generalize that yes, now after 1 year again, when the summer will come, the summer season will come, ducks will again come to that very pool. So from particular, I have generalized that very theory, and by developing that very theory. Positivists always and always believe in quantitative approach. Quantitative is something which is related to measuring something, right? So measurement, anything which is observed. So Sir Isaac Newton observed that an apple fell on his head, right? And from that very observation, he started measuring certain things, and then he developed the theory of gravity, correct? On the other hand, the post-positive research is qualitative in nature. Why is it qualitative in nature? Because it talks about the in-depth analysis. Now, let me just give you an example here, that if you are going, right? If I am asking you that have you watched the movie Koi Mil Gaya, right? You will say yes, some of you might have, some of you might not have. So if we talk about that movie from the post-positivist angle, people will say that yes, aliens do exist. But who gave you this very thing that aliens have 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 eyes, just like humans? But yes, they are blue in color. We have never explored, the humans have never explored the aliens truly. So who tells you that Jadoo as an alien should look like this? What if in the upcoming times, really, the aliens are discovered and we see that they are round, right? Some of them are square. They do not have any legs, etc. But yes, they have 4 arms, right? And they walk on their 4 arms, right? How are we going to do that? Because of the human limited knowledge that we see that all people, right? All the creatures walk on 2 legs, right? And with 2 hands, etc. Most of them, we have developed that yes, even for that matter, if you have watched the movie Avatar, in Avatar as well, you see that the people, even if they are, taller than us in height, but they have just been created like us humans. Who told them? Who gave them the example? Because of the human limited ability that is there, right? That is why qualitative analysis is there, that there is no one thing, no one truth is there, right? There is a certainty that yes, even if you try to make this pen fall, you try to make a handkerchief fall, it will fall on the ground, right? So certainly it will be there. Here it is a probability that yes, aliens can look like this, they cannot, right? Objectivity. Objectivity here means universality, or if we talk about the absolute reality. So from the gravity, we have reached to one universal truth. Let's just even see for UGC NET examination from that very point, right? You have 4 options, A, B, C and D. And if the examiner has marked the D option as correct, right? The universal answer that this answer, the D option is only correct, is universal for all students for that very question, right? Which gives us this very thing that yes, there is a universalization. There is this one, you have reached out to the objectivity. You are not being biased here. In positivism, no biasness should be there. It is scientific, as I told you. Through science, they want to prove certain things. Absolute reality, yes, universality is there. Probability sampling, right? So probability sampling is used in positivism, and non-probability sampling is used in post-positivism, because here in non-probability, if you would have watched the previous videos, you would have seen that how I have made you all realize, or how I have made you all memorize the probability and non-probability sampling techniques, right? If we talk about non-probability sampling techniques, their in-depth analysis is done based on the convenience. So if you are getting indulged in conversations, of course, that will be qualitative in nature, that will use non-probability sampling techniques. And here the subjectivity is there. Wherever you will talk about qualitative, anything which is you're talking about in depth, if you're getting in an interview and you're talking about your PhD topic with the supervisor or the person who's taking your interview there, you're going to indulge in that conversation deeply. Hence, the subjectivity will come. Here, objectivity is there, that interview will just ask you what is your name, and he will ask the same question to every person, right? Here, discovery is there because you are developing a theory. Critical reality, that this can be the truth, it cannot be the truth, and because of the fact that yes, probability and objectivity is there, that the interviewer is just going to ask you certain questions, certain concepts which are related, right? And he's going to ask the same thing to everyone. Hence, it is structured, it is framed and controlled. On the other hand, post-positivist approach, because it is qualitative in nature, subjective in nature, the interviewer is, going to ask you a question related to feminism. And he or she will keep on going to talk about feminism, right? After they have asked your name, etc. So that is unstructured. So from any and every person, they won't be asking the feminism. If your topic is related to feminism, they will ask. If your topic is related to post-colonial theory, they will ask you the post-col theory, right? Phenomenological research. Phenomenology is something which is related to someone's experience, right? So if we talk about someone's experience, it is qualitative in nature. And in the question, they have asked which, in the post-positive approach, which of the following types research got emphasized. So first of all, if post-positivism is there, we have seen that qualitative things will be there. And if qualitative is there, phenomenological research, because it is talking about the experiences, then it will be qualitative. If I ask you, how was your experience in your school? How was your experience in your college, etc. So you will indulge in a conversation with me. It will make this conversation qualitative and subjective, right? Focuses on the commonality of the lived experience within a particular group. The researcher attempts to understand how one or more individuals experience a phenomena. So from one person who has studied with you and you, right, as the second person, the differences might be there in the experience. For example, interviewing the wives of 10 prisoners of war, right, and asking them to describe their experiences, that how difficult has it been for them to live away from their partners who are in prison, right? So every wife will have a different opinion out there through their lived experience. Then comes the ethnographic research, ethnicity, culture, right? To describe a culture. So if you are describing a culture, of course, it will become qualitative. And if it will be qualitative, it will be the post-positivist approach, right? It provides an insider's picture of a community under study. So if I am going to, live with the Sikh community, for example, and I am going to observe their culture, how am I going to do that? I am going to be a part of their community under study. The researcher can go and live in a specific community where the research is going to be conducted and study the culture and educational practices there, right? So that is ethnographic, living with the people with a different culture, right? Then we have action research, a very prominent model when it comes to the UGC NET examination, right? To investigate, evaluate and analyze research methods are designed to identify problems. So action research is learning by doing method, correct? So you act, you learn and you do, right? So basically action research, it is mostly done in the sphere of education, in the teaching part, right? In the academic field, right? And help researchers to develop practical solutions to address them quickly. So immediate solutions to a particular problem can be seen or can be observed with what kind of research? Action research. May also be applied to educational techniques that are not necessarily problematic, but researcher wants to identify a change or improve their knowledge. So if a teacher is there teaching in a classroom and she sees that just coming there and delivering a lecture is not making difference in the students' scores, so she can use the visual techniques of visual aids. She can use flashcards. She can ask the students in a quiz method, right? So just to improvise that very thing that can be done in the educational sphere. It is also called cycle of action because it follows a predefined process that is repeated over time. That is plan, act, observe and reflect. This has been a question which has differently been asked multiple times. So what is the usual cycle of action research? That is PAOR, plan, act, observe and reflect. Correct? Next question is, at the stage of data analysis in which quantitative techniques have been used by the researcher, the evidence warrants the rejection of null hypothesis. Which of the following decisions of the researcher will be deemed appropriate? So, the researcher has rejected the null hypothesis. What is the decision that he is going to make now? So, pause your screens. The answer to this question is option B. That is, rejecting the null hypothesis and accepting the substantive research hypothesis. First of all, what is a hypothesis? Hypothesis is a precise, testable statement of what the researcher predicts will be the outcome of the study. It is stated at the start of the study. Here, I'm just generally talking about hypothesis. I'm not talking about null or alternative hypothesis. What is a hypothesis? Right? So, basically, any tentative statement assumed to be true, that yes, it is true. The researcher assumes this statement to be true and then he or she formulates a null hypothesis which is against the opposite of the alternative or the substantive or the research hypothesis. This usually involves proposing a possible relationship between two variables. One is independent, the other is dependent variables, right? So it should be tested against reality and can then be supported or rejected. So support and rejection can only come with null and alternative hypothesis. Now moving to, first of all, what a hypothesis should be. Explain what you are expecting to happen, right? Because you believe in certain thing. Be clear and understandable by the people. Be testable, that it should be tested. You can test that yes, if coffee has an effect on your, sleeping pattern. Right? So it should be testable. Be measurable. How much coffee has an effect on your brain? Correct? Contain an independent and dependent variable. Coffee, the cause, and the effect, that is your sleep pattern. So independent and dependent variable should be there. Then comes the null hypothesis. So as the name suggests, it is null, right? It means that it is null. It is the one which the researcher wants to disprove, reject or nullify. So he or she will give this hypothesis in the beginning of the research study, right? That this is what they think is the null hypothesis, and then they will also provide an alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis is, denoted by H0 because 0 means null, correct? So H0, if you see somewhere, even in the examination, it means that it is null, correct? The null often refers to the common view of something, right? It is often the reverse of what the experimenter actually believes. So as I told you, if I actually believe that coffee has an effect on the brain of a person, I will give the null hypothesis as coffee does not have the effect on a person's brain or the sleeping capacity. Correct? Alternative hypothesis is denoted by H1 or HA. Correct? It also has names such as substantive, or it can also be known as research hypothesis. So if you see these two terms even there, these are also the names of the alternative hypothesis. So obviously it is the opposite of the null hypothesis, and it is the one in which the researcher believes. It is the one which researcher believes to be true, right? It reflects that there will be an observed effect for the experiment and the observation are the result of the real effect. So if you see in the null hypothesis, one will say that yes, fertilizer X does not have an effect on the plant growth. You will say that yes. In the alternative hypothesis, you will say that yes, application of a fertilizer has an effect on the plant growth, right? So if one plant is fed club soda for 1 month and another plant is fed plain water, there will be no difference in the growth between the two plants. So no, null, right? Negative statement, which will show that there is no differentiation between the two variables. That will be the null hypothesis. Alternative will be that if one plant is fed club soda for 1 month and the other plant is fed plain water for 1 month again, the plant that is fed club soda will grow better than the one with the plain water. This is the alternative hypothesis. So if you are going to, believe in one hypothesis, if you are the one who have rejected the null hypothesis, of course, you are supposed to accept the alternative. If you reject null hypothesis, if you see that yes, it legit did not have an effect on the plant growth, so you will reject it and then you will accept the null hypothesis. But if you see that yes, it does have an effect or etc., something like that, then it will be vice versa. So our rejection on one hand will be the acceptance on the other hand, right? So if you are rejecting the null hypothesis, which most probably most of the times is the case, right? Because you are going to reject what you believe, right? And you are going to accept what you obviously believe. So you are going to accept the alternative hypothesis. Correct? Here let's just see. Light color has no effect on plant growth. Correct? Light color has an effect on the plant growth. So if you would have rejected the null hypothesis, of course you are going to accept your alternative hypothesis. Correct? So this is what we had in today's video, where we were talking about research aptitude. We were talking about ICT and higher education. And as you all see or watch this very video, you all will be having that very fear that yes, the exam is really near. How should I, prepare? The only thing, the first thing that you all should do is do not panic and just revise. Of course, one more tip that I would like to give you all is that this is a 3-hour duration examination. And you can switch from paper 1 and paper 2, go and fro, right? So, first of all, if you have paper 1 and paper 2, let me just write it on a blank screen. So, you have paper 1 and paper 2, right? Paper 2 will be your subject specific and paper 1 is the general that we do in the teaching and research aptitude. So, my advice here would be that try, which is a long, which is the cliche advice that any person can give, but which is very effective when it comes to the competitive examination, so that you do not panic when you do not know an answer to a question. So that advice is basically try to solve the questions which you know the answer of, even in paper 1 and paper 2. So because in the 3-hour examination, right, you can switch from paper 1 to paper 2, both the windows, right, both the examinations. So certain time, try to attempt the maximum questions which you know from paper 1, then shift to paper 2. So 50 questions will be here for paper 1 and 100 questions will be there for paper 2, right? So first of all, try to only solve the ones which you think are the, correct ones according to you. right, which you know that they are correct, you are 100% sure of, then you can, try to solve or make your mind at peace that yes, and do not panic if you do not know the answer to certain questions. Try to recall, because you have revised multiple times if you would have, religiously watched these very videos. So this is how you should approach that. Yes, of course, you are supposed to read or do the questions which you know, first of all, which you know you are 100% sure of, and then jump onto the questions and you can switch as I told you, right? So do not panic, dear students. I hope you all are going to do really well. We will meet again soon in certain new videos with certain more concepts or, more programs just like the last lab for you all for your enhancement in knowledge. Till then, I wish you all the best for this very NET examination and I hope you all crack it. Have a good day. Thank you so much.